over me. Yeah, oh, freedom, freedom over me. Before I be a slave, I'd rather be buried somewhere, anywhere, in my grave. Then I'm going home to live with God. Hey, oh, freedom, freedom, freedom all over me. Yeah, oh, freedom, freedom all over me. I'll tell you before I be a slave, I'd rather be buried somewhere, anywhere, in my grave. Then I'm going home to live with God. Come on, somebody. Hey, oh, freedom. I'm free, y'all, now. Freedom all over me. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, oh, freedom, freedom over me. Over me. I'll tell you before I be anybody's slave, I'd rather be buried anywhere, I don't care, in my grave. Then I'm going home to live with God. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Naomi, for that beautiful song, and thank all of you for being here today. And special thanks to everybody at the Institute for Sacred Music who worked behind the scenes to make this happen. Martin Jean, the director of ISM, Evan Graves, associate director, Ray Vogel, Sachin Ramabhadran. What a great team, many, many more whose support we could not do without. We wouldn't be here without them, and we thank them so much for their support and their help. I'm Ron Jenkins. I'm a professor here at the Institute of Sacred Music, and I asked Miss Naomi to start out with that song about freedom, because freedom is the theme of most of the songs and stories that you're going to hear today. And Miss Naomi is someone who knows what that word means, because she spent 37 years in prison waiting for her freedom and inspiring other women who were deprived of their freedom by singing songs like that every Sunday in the prison chapel. She was looked up to as a mentor to those women, and Miss Naomi has been a mentor to me and to all the students in my courses, as have B.L. Shirelle and our other formerly incarcerated guests as we read together Dante's Divine Comedy about the journey out of hell through purgatory to heaven. And that's a journey in search of freedom. As Virgil says at the foot of Purgatory Mountain, he says, "Libertà va cercando." He's looking for freedom. That's the goal of Dante's journey. And just as Virgil was a guide to Dante on his journey, Miss Naomi and BL and our other guests were guides to us as we were reading the poem, and they helped us to see Dante's Divine Comedy through their eyes and to see how relevant it still was to anybody who's looking for freedom, any kind of freedom, personal freedom, political freedom, physical freedom, spiritual freedom. It's a poem about freedom, wherever that search starts from, if it's inside a prison with steel bars or inside the prison of our own minds. It's a poem that's inspiring on many, many dimensions. And today's presentation is the result of a collaboration over several months between all the people that you see here. But the roots of the performance go back much longer than that, because many of the presenters here began reading Dante while they were still in prison many years ago with me and my students from previous classes. And we are so happy that although in those years past they had to present their responses to Dante in prison, now they can present their responses to Dante here at Yale for all of us. So we really celebrate their freedom, and we are so happy that they're here with us. And afterwards, we invite you to stay and talk to them, ask questions. We'll have a dialogue with you, and you can ask them what it was like to read Dante in prison or anything else you want to ask them. We enjoy the dialogue after the performances. Because like Dante, who was convicted of crimes himself, sentenced to death, and spent decades in exile from his home and family, our formerly incarcerated partners refused to accept the words that were written above the gates of hell, the famous words from Dante's Inferno, "Abandon all hope, you who live here." Dante himself didn't abandon hope. He went right past that sign, and he climbed up the devil's back to get out of hell and made his way to paradise. And our partners also refused to abandon hope. They held on to hope, and more importantly, they helped each other hold on to hope in prison, where it's not easy to keep hope alive. So when they lift up their books, you're going to see them lift up your books. You're going to see them lift up their books. They're inviting you. That's their versions of Dante's poem, a poem about freedom and hope and perseverance. They're inviting you to think about what Dante's medieval journey of transformation has in common with the journeys of transformation that millions of currently and formerly incarcerated men and women are still taking today. And it's as they make their way out of the hells they've lived through in their pasts towards the heavens they aspire to reach in their futures. Yes. Acquired during those journeys is at the heart of all the stories and songs you're going to see today. And that wisdom and knowledge is what Dante might have referred to as the bread of the angels, il pane degli angeli. So we are so happy that you're here to get a taste of that wisdom, and we invite you to enjoy the feast. Thank you.
Almost half of all Americans experience an episode of mental illness in their life, and almost 60% of them won't get any treatment. Robin Ledbetter was only 14 years old when she was incarcerated at an adult prison, looking at a sentence of 50 years. Looking at that much time, at that age, holding on to hope is almost impossible. But maintaining your sanity in a prison system only designed to punish you is almost improbable. Robin started to struggle with depression. It even got so bad she tried to kill herself. So she had to spend much time at a mental health unit, or as she once described it, another circle of hell. Just like Dante, her time in prison felt like a journey through hell for her. For Dante, the ones whom anger has defeated are sinners, and they have to suffer being stuck in the mud of sticks, being unable to speak for all time. But we now know that depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and all the other illnesses are exactly that, illnesses. We can't silence these people. They deserve treatment in prison and in every other place in the world. The German song by Paul Gerhardt gives hope to everyone. The first words of each verse build together a verse of Psalm 37. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. Thinking of mental health treatment, what images come to your mind? Let us give you an impression of the mental health unit in prison. Here one must leave behind all hesitation. Here every cowardice must meet its death.
Qui convien lasciare ogni sospetto, ogni viltà convien che qui sia morta.
I promise you still, scariest shit that I seen on the hill is being in prison while mentally ill, where they kill you will day after day, through pill after pill.
What every long-termer has heard and what is meant as a compliment, but really an insult. Man, if it was me, I would have been trying to kill myself.
Through me, the way into the suffering city. Through me, the way to the eternal pain. Through me, the way that runs amongst the lost.
Per me si va nella città dolente, per me si va nell'eterno dolore, per me si va tra la perduta gente.
I have yet to find the words to describe what those first moments of clarity are after trying to attempt to take your own life. But in a hostile prison environment, there is no clarity, only torment. Through me, the way to the suffering city. Your senses are assaulted the minute you walk through the door. First, your nose. The overwhelming smell of bleach to cover the smell of unwashed bodies constricts your lungs. Next, your ears. There's banging. Women are screaming, women are yelling, women are singing. And the touch, it is cold. Cinder blocks, metal beds, metal toilets, metal sinks, no shoes, no socks, no panties, no bras, no nothing. Just a one-size-fits-all paper gown. And then lastly, the eyes. The halls are lined with large windows, each displaying naked, hollow-eyed women, beautiful women, twisted and tormented, forced into filth, showers withheld as punishment, forced to eat with their hands, slop, shoved through a hole in a metal door. No toilet paper, no sanitary products, humiliation.
Und obgleich alle Teufel hier wollten widerstehen, so wird doch ohne Zweifel Gott nicht zurückgehen. Was sich vorgenommen und was haben will, das muss doch endlich kommen zu seinem Zweck und Ziel.
There isn't enough medical staff to take care of the patients, so the guards get involved in the treatment or mistreatment of the patients. You must comply. Through me, eternal pain. I have watched women turn into beasts, guttural screams, restrained, forcibly medicated, demonic speech turned into agonizing pleas, quieted into whimpering whispers. I watched my friends turned into empty vessels, bloated, twisted with vacant eyes. You must comply. Non-compliance is a scarlet letter and an indefinite sentence in this hell. So you comply. You take the medication. And then all the noise, the smell, the abuse, the mistreatment, it all quiets as you drift into a drug-induced haze.
Strange utterances, horrible pronouncements, excess of anger, words of suffering, and voices, shrill and faint, and beating hands, all went to make a tumult that will whirl forever through that turbid, timeless air.
Diverse lingue, orribili favelle, parole di dolore e accenti d'ira, voci alte e fioche, suon di manconelle, facevano un tumulto, il qual s'aggira sempre in quell'aura senza tempo tinta, come fa l'arena quando turbo spira.
There is so much sadness there. Throughout my 25 years in prison, I entered the mental health unit several times due to my depression, but there isn't any health there. Its sole design is to medicate and subdue.
Hoff, o du arme Seele, hoff und sei unverzagt. Gott wird dich aus der Hölle, da dich der Kummer plagt, mit großer Gnade rücken, erwarte nur die Zeit. So wirst du schon erblicken die Sonne der schönsten Freud.
A mental health unit or treatment facility is supposed to be there to help people in their time of need. Instead, it's being used as punishment.
I promise you this, scariest shit to ever exist, being in prison while physically sick. And if you got life to them, you already dead, so hopefully it'll be quick. I see my Sully start taking the meds, shit fucked me up when she seemed to forget. In a year's time she was slobbering, spitting, playing and shit. I promise you still, scariest shit that I seen on the hill, being in prison and mentally ill, where they kill your will. Day after day through pill after pill, you go bananas and slipped on the pill. Stuck in the slam, I can't win the appeal. Can't even feel, so you really can't heal. Word to Camp Hill. The infirmary, smelling like blood in the murder scene, mixed with neglect, no sense of respect. We dying from no sense of urgency. We die from deliberate indifference, standards, procedures, and routine surgeries. We dying from constantly being denied our services purposely, until we are ill in this terminally. Boy, this shit really murder in first degree. Screaming in vain, they don't believe in our pain. It's like we ain't bleeding the same. Serving our time equate to deserving to die. Freedom we'll see in the grave. Wish we was free at the gate. Only way they can escape and see what remains is families receiving remains. I promise you this, scariest shit to ever exist, being in prison while physically sick. And if you got life to them, you already dead. Hopefully it'll be quick. I see my Sully start taking the meds, shit fucked me up when she seemed to forget. In a year's time she was slobbering, spitting, playing and shit. I promise you still, scariest shit that I seen on the ill, being in prison and mentally ill, where they kill your will. Day after day through pill after pill, you go bananas and slipped on the pill. Stuck in the slam and can't win the appeal. Can't even feel, so you really can't heal. Word to Camp Hill, ill.
What sun or what candle drew you out of darkness?
Qual sole o quai candele ti stenebraron sì?
My partner, Chris, first read Dante in the True Prison program, which was started by the former Connecticut governor after his visit to a prison in Germany that focused on rehabilitation through mentoring. Chris said, some mentors that I met in prison were just like Virgil, who was Dante's mentor in the story. Chris received a lot of affirmation from his mentors, just like Dante. When Dante was climbing up to the mountain of purgatory, he had to pass through a layer of fire to move to the top. Dante was afraid to walk forward, but Virgil, Dante's mentor, affirmed him, saying, "My son, though there may be suffering here, there is no death. Put down your every fear, turn toward the fire and enter confidence."
Figliuol mio, qui può essere tormento, ma non morte. Pon giù omai, pon giù ogni temenza, volgiti in qua e vieni, entra sicuro.
A lot of bad things that I've done were out of love. Protecting my friends, gotta protect the family. Bills due, minimum wage don't allow you to catch up. Resort to selling drugs, next runner up. The goal is to take care of my family. I lied as if funds came from a job, but the streets never abandoned me. Wandering aimlessly with a half goal turned to a sad story. When you love someone, there's no limit to what you will and won't do. Love is a two-edged sword. The same thing that can bring you in darkness can be the same thing to keep you out.
Teach me what love is. You have reduced it to love both its good and its opposite.
Che mi dimostri amore, a cui riduce ogni buon operare, il suo contrario.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Some don't even have a date. Some don't even have a date. Why do you do this? They gave you no hope. I bring a piece of you, I leave a piece of me, hope in me. Hopefully, we can link on the other side.
You did as him who goes by night and carry the lamp behind him. He is of no help to his own self, but teach those who follow.
Facesti come quei che va di notte, che porta il lume dietro e se non giova, ma dopo sé fa le persone dotte.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Everyone noticed the change. I'm no mentor, no role model. I just share my experience. Lead by action. Change is beautiful. Dignify individuals. We all make mistakes. Just because of my residence, my dignity should not be stripped. If you haven't came face to face with the devil, that means you're walking in the same direction. We weren't meant to be in prison. Our bad decisions got us here. As intellectual human beings, we were meant to learn. We were meant to explore the world. We were meant to be creative. We were meant to nurture one another.
You were not made to live like Bruce, but to follow virtue and knowledge.
Considerate la vostra semenza. Fatti non foste a viver come bruti, ma per seguir virtute e conoscenza.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Tracy Bernardi Guzman almost didn't make it out of prison, not only because of legal barriers, but because she tried to kill herself during a 7-year stretch of solitary confinement. 7 years of solitary out of 23 served. Today, you would never guess Tracy's despair behind bars. Buoyant, self-possessed, she is a several times published author and has her own blog. Tracy's also an artist whose pieces have been exhibited in museums across the Northeast, most notably the Brooklyn Museum. A relentless advocate, Tracy has helped change 13 Connecticut laws, those changes all geared toward ending mass incarceration. And she subcontracts with the ACLU as a smart justice leader. Recently, the Connecticut Hall of Change Grade 8 inducted Tracy, one of a long list of civic awards and citations. Part of her activism's bite is Tracy's transparency. She speaks openly about the accumulation of prison abuse, especially from guards and officials, mind games, baiting, using her mental health issues against her to lengthen her sentence, all designed to dehumanize. Tracy's unraveling in prison corroborates Michelle Foucault's assertion that the modern penal system targets inmates' souls more than their bodies. Tracy unequivocally wants that to stop. If I don't tell you here on the outside, she asks, who will? Her testimony is like Dante's character in the lowest depths of the Inferno, as he nears Satan's grotesque figure and wonders if he can even find the words. For I bring myself to speak. It is not a task to take in jest, to show the bottom of all the universe.
Non senza tema a dicer mi conduco, che non è impresa da pigliare a gabbo, di scriver fondo a tutto l'universo.
Shackled and chained, I get off the bus. Fist in a ball, wrist full of cuffs. So tight, they leave a cut across my veins, subliminal message telling me to just slit it up.
Most of the people who go to prison have experienced some kind of trauma or mental health. And if you don't, you do the moment you're strip searched. I can remember a guard who once said, after I was upset of a strip search, "You liked it at home. Why did I like it at home? Because I'm here for this crime?" You're not a prostitute, a liar, and a thief, and everything else because of one crime. If you say, "I need to see somebody from mental health," they humiliate you. The first thing that they do is bring you in the common area in front of everyone, and they handcuff you, and then they lock down the entire unit so that everyone is mad at you.
Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? All on that day.
And in solitary, if you're lying under the door trying to talk to other people, it's a problem to the guards, because they do not want you to communicate or have human contact. So they'll go in someone else's room and they'll take a sneaker and they'll put it in the dryer and they'll turn it on for a 60-minute cycle. Imagine listening to that. Or the guard will say, "I spit in someone's tray today. I wonder whose it is." And no one will eat. And then if we don't eat, they'll write a note in the logbook and they'll say, "Inmate Bernardi is refusing her trays." And then the captain will come and say, "Do you need to see mental health?"
A serpent with 6 feet springs out and sinks its teeth into her cheeks.
E un serpente con 6 piedi si lancia e li addentò e l'una e l'altra guancia.
Honestly, it's a lot of the reason why I'd hung myself. I couldn't take it anymore. One time, a guard came into my room to do a strip search, and he tied all of my sheets in knots. And I was on a lot of meds, and I needed to go to sleep. But here I was in the middle of the night, still trying to untie these knots that he put. They were so tight. And I was like, why? He just thought it was funny. And the worst part was, he wasn't even a jerk to us. He didn't write us tickets or anything like that. But I was so upset seeing him laughing with the other guards. I was like, that's not funny. That is not funny. Would you do that to your wife? Would you do that to your mother? Why are you doing it to me? Because you're here?
Well, I run to the stars, stars, won't you hide me? Run to the stars, stars, won't you hide me? Run to the stars, stars, won't you hide me? All on that day.
But we did have Sister Elaine. She used to come in and she treated us humanely. If it would be raining, we would sneak her wet clothes and put them in our dryer. Anybody else would be disgusted to have their stuff associated with ours. But she loved us. She would sing with us and hold our hands and talk with us, and she helped us. She encouraged us to write our feelings, and that was a lot of my shift. It was the writing. We wrote our way out of there.
Oh, Lord, Lord, look at me praying. Lord, Lord, look at me praying. Lord, Lord, look at me praying. All on that day.
You know, I've always been an advocate. One time in prison after a gym performance, I told the whole audience, we're all criminals. We just all haven't gotten caught. Have you ever left a bar after drinking and it wasn't an hour? Have you ever, and driven, by the way, have you ever, committed a crime whether you got caught or not? Have you ever sped on the highway? You could have killed someone, And nobody has ever come up to me and said, not me, nobody.
Cinnamon, where you gonna run to?
Cinnamon, where you gonna run to?
Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? All on that day. Well, Lord, Lord, look at me praying.
Lord, Lord, look at me praying.
Lord, Lord, look at me praying. All on that day, yeah.
Of all Americans sentenced with 50 years or more behind bars, 95% die in prison before they get a chance to be forgiven by the state. Dante wrote about a young warrior named Manfred in 13th century Italy who took a man's life. After that, he turned to a life of violence and crime. Eventually, he was excommunicated by the church, he was betrayed by his own friends, and then he was killed on the battlefield. Now in purgatory, Manfred is doing hard time. But he persuades Dante that he's repentant, and he begs for forgiveness. Ray Boyd walked a similar road as Manfred, getting 50 years for taking a man's life. They say that healing is a matter of time, but it's also a matter of opportunity. And Ray got that opportunity when he apologized to the victim's family at a parole hearing, and they forgave him. He's out now. He's married with kids. He works at Yale Law School. He's an advocate. He's a published author. And he started a nonprofit called Next Level Empowerment Program, where he helps young men like him break cycles and make the most of the time they've been given. As Ray recently told me, I've learned that there are certain pieces in play to ensure that black and brown people find themselves in prison at a particular time and place in their lives. And I had to figure out a way to disrupt that pipeline. That's why I do what I do. Ray might be called a wayfaring stranger, traveling through a world below, but then lifted up in the light of forgiveness, to go home, to live freely, and to give back generously. This is Ray's story, how he did and does his time. Now, these are Manfred's words to Dante from purgatory. In tears, I then consigned myself to the one who willingly forgives. My sins were ghastly, but the infinite goodness has arms so wide that it accepts whoever would return.
Io mi rendei, piangendo a quei che volentier perdona. Orribili furono i peccati miei, ma la bontà infinita sì gran braccia, che prende ciò che si rivolge a lei.
The first law of nature is self-preservation. I was born and raised in the city of New Haven. My mom was on welfare with 9 kids. Coming from the hood, as they would say, I did what I had to do to survive. I was charged with murder at the age of 17, 50 years.
Time is costly here in this kingdom.
Che il tempo è caro in questo regno.
50 years.
I'm just a poor, wayfaring stranger.
Every day, from the very moment that I made that mistake, I had to live with that reality, those thoughts. They're vivid. They're right there. It's fresh. It's been over 30 years for me. And every morning that I wake up, it's right there.
I'm traveling through this world below.
50 years, time does not start until man sets it in motion. What do you do with your time will determine the man that you become. So when we speak about doing time, you could be doing some foul time, you could be doing some harsh time, or you could be taking college courses with your time, or you could be attending divinity school with your time. It wasn't until I began to educate myself by learning how to read and learning how to write that I became consciously aware. Confinement is a place where most of us find our spirituality. It reminds me of that saying, although I am in the world, I am not of this world. We get so used to the worldly things that we forget about our own spirituality. The Most High has found a reason to save someone like me and utilize me as a vessel. That's why I am not a bitter person. I know that there's a plan. I know that I'm serving a purpose.
There's no sickness, toil, nor danger in that bright world to which I go.
That's when I had that aha moment. I just didn't want to be known as the individual who had taken a man's life. Once 50 years became my reality, I knew that that wasn't my end game. So I strived every day to alter that reality. They say that 100% dissatisfaction brings about 100% change.
There is no one so lost that the eternal love cannot return.
Sì non si perde che non possa tornar l'eterno amore.
So in Connecticut, the law is you can't have any contact with the victim's family. So I strive to live with that for over 30 years, knowing that I've taken someone's life and I can't even say to the family and ask for their forgiveness. There are barriers between us. It's like looking at someone in the glass and they can see you, but they can't hear anything. Forgive me, I'm mouthing, but they can't hear me. But finally, I got the chance to be heard. I took responsibility for my actions, and I was able to express my apologies to the victim's family and ask for their forgiveness. Then it was the family's time to speak about the crime at my parole hearing. They forgave me. Can you imagine that? Over 30 years have passed, and they forgave me. It was so emotional that everything else was just a blur.
I'm going there to see my brothers. They pass before me one by one.
I'm free now, but I haven't forgotten my past. So I co-founded a 501c3 where I go into the DOC and I teach these young men who they are, why they're there, and what they can look forward to in their future.
Take care and do not waste my warning.
Guarda, giovi ch'io ti scaltro.
It's like I'm talking to my 17-year-old self again. And my 17-year-old self is like, I already know what I signed up for. And I'm like, no, you don't. You have no idea what you signed up for. You only signed up to buy a pair of sneakers or get an extra pair of jeans when it's time for school. You didn't sign up to take anyone's life.
I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home.
They forgave me. They said to the board at my hearing, if he's done all of this in there and he's continuing to do it out here, we forgive him. Let him go home where he can do the work out in the community. And ever since I came home, I've been doing exactly that. So I ask you this one question. How will you do your time?
I know dark clouds will gather around me. I know my way is rough and steep, but golden fields lie out before me, where weary eyes will never weep. I'm going there to see my family and all my loved ones who have gone. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home.
Who is this who without death can journey through the kingdom of the dead? Chi è costui che senza morte va per lo regno della morta gente? His name is Robert Day, and he's a medical anomaly. He has heart issues, and he has faced clinical death 8 times. The first time he was in prison, serving a 30 years sentence he knew was wrongful. His doctors gave him 6 months to live. He was mentally and physically shattered, lost between depression and anger. I was in hell. The purpose of Dante's Divine Comedy is to make the best of one's life. But how can you do that when all lights fade, when all you can see is just darkness? Well, that's exactly how it starts. That's the condition of Dante at the beginning of the book, and that of Robert when he woke up in that hospital. To climb out, you've got to take that first step down. You can't avoid the Inferno, but you can cross it. And you can't do it alone. When we are lost, we need to be found. We need a guide. Dante had Virgil and Beatrice, while Robert had Vernal Davis, Preach, who pushed him out of his sorrow and into Dante's class. Then he had Dante. He had the Divine Comedy. It wasn't just an academic journey. It made him realize how the real battle is never out there. It's always here. Dante is in me. Dante is in you. Dante is in all of us. I think Robert likes to say this because he has found a path within, a radical inner freedom that goes well beyond the walls of a prison or the limitations of nature. There's a light within that we all share and that no external darkness can ever touch. That's when you meet God. That's when you find the love that moves the sun and the other stars. L'amor che muove il sole e le altre stelle.
I was drawn to Dante like a current in the ocean. I was convicted to 30 years for a crime I didn't commit, and I'm innocent. I was going so deep into the darkness as I was doing my time that I had nothing but revenge on my mind. As it got darker, I was getting more depressed and more angry. I wasn't solid about my existence. I was in a place where every light is muted, which bellows like the sea beneath the tempest.
Loco d'ogni luce muto, che mugghia come fa mar per tempesta, se da contrari venti è combattuto.
I was just angry. And then my heart stopped for the first time. I died literally. My eyes was gray, my face was blue, my lips was purple. And that was the first time I didn't remember anything. I died, then I woke up. I started thinking about the anger I had on the inside and the pain and the stress. That's when I realized I was in the dark. A dark place like the dark forest. The dark forest that Dante talks about when he woke up out his stupor. He woke up out his stupor into a dark forest. Everything running through my mind, spiritually, physically. I had no appetite, no desires. Nothing in life around me was tangible anymore. I didn't feel like this was life. I felt like I was walking through the gates of hell. In prison, there's a protocol. You never wake a man up out of his sleep. But Preach, he violated that protocol. It was early in the morning. He woke me up with the script. He waved it at me. And he said, read it, sign your name, go to the class, read the book. Isn't this just like you? Isn't this just like us? Dante, the book was like me being in the ocean, and you know, they tell you to get out the water before high tide. The current was so strong and I was so intrigued, I was like, hold up, wait a minute. When Dante came into my life, he made things clearer. I realized the whole time that this was a spiritual war. This wasn't physical. It wasn't the police. It wasn't the detectives. It wasn't the system. There is no system. I was giving them too much power. And I would like to use another word, but I'm gonna say, damn all of them. You understand what I'm saying? Damn all of them, every single one of them. I gave him too much power. His journey, Dante's journey, I don't see it as a physical journey. It's a spiritual journey. It's within himself. It's within me. It's us. Like a current, just as he, who with exhausted breath, having escaped from the sea to the shore, turns back to watch the dangerous waters as he has quit.
Come quei che con lena affannata, uscito fuori del pelago alla riva, si volge all'acqua perigliosa e guata.
You ever dream of falling? In a dream with no bottom, just falling? That's how I feel with God. I was falling, and then God reached his divine hand and just pulled me back up, literally stood me up on my feet in front of y'all today. In prison, we used to talk about God all the time, but like as if there's no judgment, there's no color, there's no, well, actually, if you think about God, it's the most radiant colors you could ever imagine in life. Think about that for a moment. If you think about God, it's like the kaleidoscope and the sun shines through it. Or you go in a Catholic church and it got all the colored glass and you see the sunshine come through it, the rays of all them different colors. Rainbows got nothing on them colors. Colors. The third time I died, I remember something. I remember colors, blue, fluorescent red, off-white. They was having a conversation. And I felt myself being drawn to these colors. The colors still move like waves in the darkness, and I'm being drawn in the deep and bright essence of that exalted light. 3 circles appeared to me. They had 3 different colors, but all of them were of the same dimension.
Nella profonda e chiara sussistenza dell'alto lume parvemi 3 giri, di 3 colori e d'una contenenza.
There are things that's happened to me that I can't explain with the natural tongue. You just can't explain it. That's when you meet God.
I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Good Lord, I know I've been changed. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. Well, if you don't believe that I've been redeemed, you know the angels in heaven done sign my name. Well, follow me down to that old Jordan stream. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. Well, I stepped in the water and the water was cold. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. Well, it chilled my body, but not my soul. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. Good Lord, I know I've been changed, and I said that I know I've been changed. Good Lord, I know I've been changed. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name. You know the angels in heaven done sign my name.
Thank y'all for taking us to church real quick. Appreciate it. There's a canto in Dante's Inferno where Virgil is guiding Dante through, and they see a crowd of people who are in hell simply for existing before Christianity. They were alive before Christianity was ever a thing, and because of that, they don't know the believer, they don't know the Savior, and they're in hell. And Dante, he couldn't help but to call out that injustice. And when I read that, I related deeply to the text. When I was a teenager, I remember feeling it was very unjust to be alive or be born in the late 80s at the height of the crack epidemic in Black America. That was my story. And it wasn't always like that for me. I come from an upper class family. We went to church every single Sunday, Bible school every single Wednesday. But when the crack epidemic hit my family, it got so bad that by the time I was 13 years old, I was living in a crack house, selling crack to my own mother. And I started doing drugs, in and out of placements. But all along, I was a phenomenal writer, I was a poet. And I used to write about all kinds of things. And even then, I was writing about all the things I was going through. When I turned 18, I had a moment that changed my life. I got in a shootout with the police. I was shot multiple times. I was beat horribly, but I lived to see another day. And I went to prison for that. Did 10 years. And when I got out, I still went back and sold drugs, spit in God's face. Ended up back in prison again. And now at this time, it's do or die for me. I've been through it all. Sitting there wondering, I'm just gonna be a fuck up for the rest of my life? Better than this, you can do it. So I went back to my foundation, which was God, in whichever way that I know that. It was just faith, it was hope. It was the pen, it was the paper. And I started writing songs about my fears, my hopes, my dreams, my regrets, my secrets that I would never tell anybody. And those lyrics, those books manifested their way into me being co-executive director of the first nonprofit record label in America for prison-impacted musicians called Freer Records. And doing what I do now, going in prisons, making phenomenal albums with musicians all across this country, it's my way of pouring back into society as much as I've drained. And I can only hope and pray that when it's my time to go, my scale will be evened out enough that God will grant me entrance into paradise, like Dante. And this song here, this is my gospel. It's called Till I Go. And I wrote half of it when I was 14 years old. And then I wrote the other half when I was 34. And I think that sometimes some things are timeless, and this is one of those things. Till I Go, ladies and gentlemen. This song is about spiritual discomfort, making peace, keeping faith, and overall just trying to be a better person today than you was yesterday. That's what we all trying to do, right? Ever get sad from being happy like? I did this shit for Gramps and she in the afterlife. And the sacrifices she made, it took half her life. Y'all say she looking down, she hardly had her sight. And I felt my faith has lost its appetite. Cause I done served the deacon and the pastor's wife. I used to know the verses, front to back, back to right, until I read that Bible, printed in this black and white. And it's cracker typed. My spirit don't have a sanctuary. It roams cause what is home, but God knows it's gold. Shows straight through my soul and he chose me. Now get a load of me. Fat dyke with a beard so you notice me. I got a look from some bullet holes below my knee. Triple D's, who the fuck you know as bold as me? But I'm supposed to be exactly how she loathed me. Yeah. Only way will I know. Won't know until I go. And if I go before you go, I promise try to let you know. Like I'm spiritually homeless. Swear my spirit be roaming. Where my spirit be gone. Where my spirit be gone. Forgive me, I'm high. Some memories die, but some shit stuck with me like a minute ain't even went by. It ain't no changing the cycle. They slayed the disciples in pages of the Bible. I used to pray to a Christ who wasn't doing nothing. Cause the only time I prayed was when I wanted something. Got caught dumping, now I got caught coming. But Lord, please forgive me for all my shortcomings. Give me credit for being forthcoming. I'm not saying it's no paradise. Just no one knows what that shit is like. And praising Christ or Allah, Jehovah, whoever I like, don't make me right. So if I praise my God until I go numb and die, and then I find out that it's the wrong one, am I condemned because I was speaking in the wrong tongue? I'm just translating the lyrics of the song, something. Only way will I know. I won't know until I go. But if I go before you go, I promise I try to let you know. It's like I'm spiritually homeless. Swear my spirit be roaming. Where my spirit be gone. Where my spirit be gone. And now I lay me down to sleep. I pray to Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray to Lord my soul. Can I get your hands in the air? Can I feel your energy? I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul. Now I lay me down. I pray the Lord my soul. If I should die before, I pray the Lord my soul. And now I lay me down. I pray the Lord my soul. If I should die before, I pray the Lord my soul. Amen.
Isn't he such a wonderful dancer? Really, give him some. Stand up, baby. Beautiful, beautiful. So, let me just tell you how I can relate so much to Dante. Now, this man was going through hell. And I went through hell as well for 37 years in the penitentiary. I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. In other words, I had a death sentence. It was meant for me to die there, but I've got something on the inside that just kind of told me something different. I can understand, you know how sometimes you think you understand somebody's problem, but if you ain't walked in those shoes, you really don't understand. You got to walk in those shoes to know what it feels like, to know that pain. You got to just walk in those shoes. So I can really relate to Dante. I can remember
when I was in prison for those 37 years, I asked God, I talk to him all the time. He's a friend of mine, always been a friend of mine. I love the Lord, I trust the Lord. I trust him with everything in me, even with that life sentence. It was just something in me that just trusted God, and I knew that he would do something different for me. I didn't know what it was, and it was taking a long time, a real long time. But he showed up. He showed up. When I went up for commutation, that's going up for parole for people that are doing life sentences. I was denied 5 times. And on this 5th time, they denied me again. And I was like, I'm not getting out of here. I start doubting God. I'm like, this ain't gonna happen. But when I wrote a letter of reconsideration, I gotten that advice from 2 of the women that would come to the prison. And I wrote that letter of reconsideration, and I'm telling you, I just took a piece of paper, tore it out of a composition book, and just hand wrote that letter. I wasn't trying to be all proper and all that, because I'm like, these people ain't gonna let me go. 5 people said no. What makes you think that 5 people are gonna turn around and say yes? But I wrote that letter, and I put that letter in my Bible. And I really almost forgot about the letter. And then one day the Lord, you know how when your first mind, that be God talking to you, I believe. And I said, something just tugged on my heart and said, get that letter and put it in the mailbox. Well, I got the letter, put it in the mailbox. I prayed on it first and put it in the mailbox. And maybe like 2 weeks later, they called my name. Naomi Wilson, mail. Well, I knew it was from Harrisburg, because when you're in prison, you always know where your mail coming from. And I said, that's too soon. I know they said no. 2 weeks, they said no. I gave the letter to my roommate. I said, here, read that. You read it. I didn't even want to read it. She said, you know what? I think you want to read this. And I was like, give me back the letter. I read that letter, and all 5 no votes had turned into all 5 yes votes. Nobody but God. Nobody but God. Now, mind you, I done been in this dump. It was a hell for 37 years, but I made it out. Then I'm home now. I'm home now for 4 years. Last year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and lung cancer. But you know what? A lot of people were feeling bad for me and feeling sorry for me. Well, they were making me sick. You know what I mean? Really. Because I trust God. I love God. And he is going to have his way with me. God does what he wants to do, when he wants to, how he wants to, who he wants to do it to. That's the kind of God that we all serve. So I've always thought that I'm just a pilgrim, and I'm just passing through. I'm just passing through. So now, Dante, making it through that hell, can you imagine him being on top of Purgatory Mountain and being crowned? So now, I want to be like Dante. I've talked to my grandchildren and my son about my funeral, and I said I want that song to be sung at my funeral, that I will wear a crown. You know, I believe that the God that I serve, I believe that when my time is up, I believe he's going to look at me and say, well done, my good and faithful servant. I've been a good servant to the Lord. Been a good servant to the Lord. Through my trials and tribulations, I've been a good servant to the Lord. So that is going to be my song. I will wear a crown. I'm sticking to that. I will wear a crown. God bless you, love you.